back to the second session. Now, before we start the second session, which is today's topic, investments, real estate investing, I want to go back to Rule 153. I want to tell you something about Rule 153. You see the colors, the corporate colors. When I had the financial architect was set up, and when Rune Financial Group was set up, the corporate colors were random. I just wanted something simple so that when I print business cards or letterheads, it not going to cost me much. So it was red and black, two colors. Keep it very simple. But this time, because I want to honor God, everything that we do is to glorify God. Okay, so we're going in a different direction. So when I was choosing my corporate colors, it came from Exodus 28:5. When Moses was told to prepare garments for the high priest who would go into the Holy of Holies once a year, okay, these were the colors God chose for the garments: purple, blue, gold, and scarlet. So when I sat down with the graphic artist, I said to her very specifically, these have to be the colors. And in the logo, all four colors are there. So that's just a bit of a trivia, right? Okay, today's core financial insight, investments, part 4. We do 20 sessions. 5 are on insurance and 5 on investment, because that's like the foundation. So this is investments, part number 4. The first session that we did on investments was what we call building blocks, where basically we just talked about some definitions, okay, so that we are all on the same page. The second one, we talked about the war chest, which is basically your life insurance policy, which is where we stockpile our money, because it's tax-free, because it's credit-approved, because it's probate-free, because there's an insurance element to this, and because the returns, both the death benefit and the returns, are guaranteed. To me, that's just, you can't get that outside. Nobody else would give you that. So why would I want to put my money anywhere else? So I stockpile it there. Okay. Then in investments, part 3, we talked about the first place where we would take money out of your stockpile, out of your war chest, to a maximum of 25% for a better return. And we talked about the stock market investing, which is rule number 1, investing, which we talked about the last session. Today we're going to talk about another place where you can take money out of your stockpile and invest for a better return. Okay, and that's in real estate. Now, the real estate landscape is very, very wide. Okay, there are many, many ways that you can invest in real estate, but I, from my experience, have chosen 2. Because there's no landlording involved. Okay, to me, the experiences that I've had, one of the worst that I've had is with landlording. Not so much with tenants, but with this period where the cash flow is just disrupted because of a loss of tenant and that kind of thing. Okay, and for those reasons, I recommend just these 2, and you'll see why very shortly. All right. Okay, the first one is tax sales, and the second one is foreclosures. Why? Because in our war chest, we are earning 3.25% return. Okay, and we'll review some of the basic concepts of return on investment and rule of 72 in a second. But why? The only reason we do it is because we want a 30% return on investment. I'll show you how we're going to get that. Okay, 30% is much better than 3.25%. Your money is just going to grow faster, right? So that's why we do it. So here's a disclaimer, okay? You are not to do this until you've cleared the first 8 steps, okay? Do not do these back-end things until you're completely out of debt, until you've cleared the first 8 steps, okay? Even your mortgage is paid for, right? Then and only then. Otherwise, it's going to be 1 step forward, 2 steps backwards. Okay? Every time there's a disruption of income, every time something goes wrong in these investments, okay, you're just going to be financially stressed, and you don't need that. All right. So if you do it systematically, then you've got you've got legs to stand on. All right. So make sure that all of them are done, and then only to a maximum of 25% of your. It should be, there's a typo there, to a maximum of 25% of your war chest. All right. So review of investments, part 1. ROI stands for return on investment. When we invest, we do it for one reason. Okay? We give someone else our money to use our money. Why? Because we expect them to give us something in return. When we put it into our life insurance policy, the insurance company takes that money and it reinvests it elsewhere, okay, to make more than 3.25, and that's how it's able to give us 3.25. But we let them take the risk. Okay? We ask them to guarantee us 3.25%. Now, of course, 3.25 is a low investment. How do we know that it's low? Because of the rule of 72. Because if you remember, the rule of 72 says that, can somebody explain to me what the rule of 72 is? Anybody? Do you remember? Anybody? Rule of 72 is a rule of thumb, and if we're going to be investing, this is something you should know. Quickly you can determine whether it's a good investment or how long it's going to take for your money to double. So rule of 72 works like this. If you take the number 72, right, you divide it by any return on investment. Let's say 3%, 3.25, let's say 3%. So 72 divided by 3 equals to what? 24. It's going to take 24 years at 3% for money to double. 72 divided by 3, 24. It's going to take 24 years for money to double. If somebody comes along and says to you, oh, this is a great investment, you're going to double your money in 7 years, what is the return that I'm getting for my money? If you tell me my money will double in 7 years, 72 divided by 7 is 10. That means it's going to take me, what I'm getting is 10%. It's going to take, if somebody says to you, invest in this, your money will double in 7 years, 72 divided by 7 is 10. What I am getting is an average of 10%. See, quickly you can figure this out. Okay, decide whether. So if in my war chest, I'm getting 3.25%, before I move my money out, it has to do better than that. Okay. Now, you cannot take, once you cannot leave money. Money has to grow as a bare minimum. It has to keep up with inflation. Otherwise, you're losing purchasing power. Okay, so even if you don't want to invest, you don't want to get into investment, your money has to grow. And what's being offered out there is does not work, because if you leave your money in your savings account, what do they give you? Less than 1%, and inflation is running at about 2 or 3%, 2 to 3%. Okay, so it doesn't work. Okay, so we have to do something proactively. So the first place to do is move it into the life policy, because there you're getting 3.25 after tax. If you're in the 50% tax bracket, that works out to 6.5% out there. Because in order to make 3.25 after tax, if you're in the 50% tax bracket, you have to be earning 6.5% out there. After you pay 50% tax, then you end up with 3.25. Okay, so the equivalent. And if you would invest in a bank today, even if you come into a windfall or you have money, they give you less than 1%. Check with your local banks, the interest saving, less than 1%. On savings accounts. Okay, so this is why we do it in the war chest. All right. So for that reason, if we can do 30%, rule of 72, if I can make 30% on my money, right, my money is going to double in 2.4 years, 2.5 years. Isn't that better? Okay. So what we're trying to do here in this strategy is 1 or 2 transactions per year, okay? And your time involvement, you'll see what's involved in doing this. When you get there, you want to be on the lookout, because if you can find the right opportunity, if you can do 1 or 2 of these per year, okay, with no more than a maximum of 25% from your war chest, you're going to enhance the growth of your war chest. Okay? It's just going to grow so much faster. And again, the other thing that we do not do is we do not take our money and leave it in the stock market or leave it in the real estate market or leave it in business, okay? Before we go out, before we launch out, we already define what it is we're looking for. We're looking for 30% here. As soon as we've made our 30%, we dump the profits back into the policy and look for the next opportunity, okay? If you get lucky, you might get more than 1 per year, okay? There's a constraint here, because we do not use debt, okay? Somebody was telling me earlier on that he or she has taken real estate courses. If you follow secular real estate courses, what they advocate that you do is use other people's money, okay? As little of your money as possible, preferably 100% financing. We go the reverse. We finance 100%. We don't do that, okay? Because we don't want the financial stress. And The more of these you do and the more your stockpile grows, the more opportunities you can exploit, because people can't do that. You'll see the money has to come up very fast here. Okay, and at the same time, you don't want to go crazy with this either. Okay, we've put boundaries. We draw lines in the sand. All right. Okay. So with that, let's come back to this. The distribution of your 20% income. Okay. When you do the first 8 steps, this is where you're at. Okay. Well, as soon as you've done the first 8 steps, you've done all of this. So where do we go going forward in step number 9? You can either remain there at the war chest and just keep dumping money in there and then 3.25%, or if you have the time, inclination, and the desire, we can go 3 ways. Okay. Last session we talked about the rule number 1 strategy, where you open an online account, make it a tax-free savings account. Okay. You link it to your this here, the war chest. It's usually with one of the companies that we deal with, and we can link the 2 accounts. And basically, you'll move 25% of you can at a push of a button, you can move 25% out, okay, into cash, and that's how we do that. And what we're shooting for there is 15% return. If you attended the last session, the book that I recommend that you read was Phil Townsend's Rule Number 1 Investing. I don't know if you've read it, or if when you get there, it's important that you go through that book 3, 4, 5 times, okay, before you start implementing it. And you paper trade for 1 year. That means you open your online account, and all of these online houses, they have what they call paper trade account, where you're not playing with real money yet. Okay, you're buying a stock with fictitious money, and see how you do. Okay, make all the mistakes first, and once you're confident, then make it live. Put your real money in. All right. Today we're going to talk about another way where you can enhance the return on your money, and which is through real estate. And here we're talking about 2, tax sales and foreclosures. Why do we do this? Because we're looking for 30% pre-tax. We can't make this a tax-free savings account, okay? And hence we shoot for a higher return, because after you make the 30%, you have to pay taxes on it. So 50% will go to taxes, okay? That's a reality. So we're still left with 15% after tax, okay? Which is better than 3.25%, which is 5 times, your money is going to grow 5 times faster. Okay, tax sales. So of the 2, the one that I prefer is tax sales, and I'll explain to you why. How many of you are aware that there are tax sales that go on, or property tax sales that go on every year around you? Okay. If wherever you live, and let me put this in a way that, so that it sinks from a conceptual level to an emotional level for you. Most of you are homeowners. And in the neighborhood that you live in, you know what you paid for your house. You might have a sense of what the market value of your house is, right? Now, if I were to tell you that, there's a house down the street that is going at a bargain at 50% or less, would that be something that might interest you? Of course it would. You'd get excited because you know what your house is worth. Let's say your house is worth $300,000, and I come along and I say, 2 houses down, there's one going on the block, there's one for sale for $150,000 or less. Would you jump at an opportunity? Can I see a show of hands of people who would? Okay, I just want to run home a point. But the point is this, that it actually exists. And you're going to see today that, these exist there. You just need to find them, okay? They're not, shouting at you. You have to go, do a few things but they are there. One of them is tax sales, okay? Now, there are in a tax sale, how a tax sale comes about is the municipalities are very high-handed, okay? They have infrastructure to run, okay? And the law allows them to take your property away if you don't contribute to providing the infrastructure, roads and everything else, okay? So if you don't pay your in most jurisdictions, in most municipalities, if you don't pay your property taxes 2 years in a row, some 3 years in a row, okay? In the second or in the third or the fourth year, automatically your home is put into a tax sale on the auction for the amount of the 2 or 3 years property taxes plus interest plus the cost of the tax sale, and that's where the bidding starts, okay? In this church, there was a gentleman who's passed on now. He told me in 2002 we ran a workshop here, and he attended the workshop. And he said to me, and I mentioned this at that time too, and he said to me, it's funny you should say that, because he said, I bought a property like that. Okay? He bought a property in Hubbards, and it was from a tax sale. Somebody was telling me, yeah, the current tax sale, which I have a copy of, which I'm going to give you, is on Monday, this coming Monday. Okay, and those of you who read papers have seen the ads, right? So he saw an ad in the Chronicle Herald for tax sale. So he shows up at the tax sale, and he picks up this property for nothing, slightly more than this is about maybe 25 years ago, okay, for the amount of the taxes in Hubbards, okay? And he said, after I got it, I couldn't believe it that, I could have bought this property for, $5,000-$6,000, right? So he said, I did some research, and I tracked down who the owner was, okay? And he said, I found him in the States. And he said, I gave the guy a call, and I said to him, do you really want to sell this for $6,000? Like, are you aware that it's being, he thought that he's cheating this guy, like the system is cheating him. So he calls him and says, so you know what the gentleman said? Oh, yeah, I bought that. He said, it was meant to be for my kids, and, but things have changed. We've moved on, and really, I just don't want it. That's why I didn't pay the taxes. So he bought this, and over the last 25 years, his principal residence was here. It became like a second residence. But they've put in about $40,000 into the home, he told me, like over the years, improvements and whatnot. And I believe by the time that it was sold, it was like between $150,000 to $200,000. It's pretty good. Yeah? So you never know what you can stumble on. Okay. So us, we're not there. We're not desperate. We're just looking for an opportunity. Okay. And we're not going to stress ourselves out financially. A bit of investment. When a tax sale comes up, we're going to scan. Okay. If it meets our criteria, very minimal involvement, we pull the trigger. If it doesn't, pass on. But ever so often, you're going to come across one. Okay. So you are, if you like this, you're not restricted to only HRM. Okay? There are tax sales going on in every municipality across the country. Okay? And sometimes at staggered different times. And if you want to make this, if you have a few successes and you like to go this route, you're not limited to this region. Okay? And I'll talk about some of the others in a second. There are certain constraints. The first is cash requirements. Okay? Most of these require a down payment immediately as soon as you've done the bidding. Okay? And anywhere from 3% to 10%. So you've got to go with cash, money order, certified check. If you plan, do some planning, and you've got to put money down as soon as you bid. Otherwise, it won't go through. Okay? And then with a very short period of time, within a week to 20 days, you have to come up with the rest of the money. Now, the secular investors, the way they do it is they line up lines of credit and all of that, and that's how they use it, credit facilities. Okay, but we don't want to go that route. Okay, ours, whatever you've got in your war chest, if you've got $500,000 there, 25% of that is $125,000. That's what you can play with. Okay, no more than that. You follow? And if you cannot find properties that are within that range, in the HRM you won't. The average property here is like $350,000, okay? You won't, but mind you, this is a tax sale, okay? But if you've only got $125,000 to play with, that means certain areas are off limits to you. You're just not in the ballpark. But there's nothing to stop you from going to Bridgewater, from going to New Glasgow, right? Properties are much cheaper out there. Okay? I was in a tax sale once, not a tax sale, a foreclosure in Digby, and I showed up, and there was only two of us. And there's a young kid, 20-something kid with me. Two of us, foreclosure, bidding for a property. He took it. He outbid me, of course. I'm cheap. But two of us, no competition. Usually, what happens with these tax sales and these foreclosures, there are investors there, okay, who are doing this. Speculators, basically. They do it a bit differently with lines of credits and whatnot. All right? So that's the first constraint. The second thing you need to know about tax sales is they can be redeemable or non-redeemable, and you'll see that in the ads that they put. I don't know what criteria they use. When it's redeemable, it means that the owner of the property has anywhere from 6 months to 1 year from the time that you bid for it to come back and redeem his property. Okay? And if they did, the city will pay you a good return on your money that you invest. So if I let's say bought a $250,000 property, I bid for $125,000, okay? Immediately I would have to put up $12,500. Within 20 days, come up with the balance, give them the $125,000. But because this is redeemable, okay, the title hasn't come to me yet, okay? Depending on the municipality, it could take 6 months to 1 year before I get the tax lien certificate. And during that time, the original owner has a chance to redeem it, okay? And if they did redeem it, then the city will pay me back my money with a good, better return than I could get at the bank. It's all different, but it's not less than 1%. Anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's a good return on your money. Some investors, they invest for that purpose. Either way, you will win, okay? Because if the guy doesn't come back, right, you will get if the guy does not come back, you'll get a good property at a bargain price. If he does come back, you still get a good return on your money. Money is not idling there, right? If it's non-redeemable, and I'm not sure what it is, either because the taxes were unpaid for too long, and a lot of land, when you have land, people who have land, they tend to, and bigger properties too, investment companies, sometimes people get so big that it just get too wieldy. They just can't come up with the money, okay? Industrial properties and whatnot, huge, to them they just cut their losses. They're not, they don't want to pay those taxes, and for that reason, it's not redeemable. Okay, either it's too much unpaid or too long unpaid. All right. So the bidding starts at the outstanding tax, usually in residential properties 2 or 3 years, plus the interest, whatever the prescribed interest is, and the court expenses of usually $1,000 to $2,500 to run the sheriff's sale. Okay, so that's where it starts, and it's up to the city doesn't care. Okay, and this is how that guy picked it up for as long as it gets its taxes, it just wants it off its books. They want a new owner who will take care of paying the property taxes, right? Now here's the thing why I prefer this to foreclosures. Okay, in a tax sale, all liens on that property are wiped out. Okay? When you get a tax sale certificate, there could be 10 mortgages on it. Okay? Too bad, they're out of luck. It is for that reason that when you go and take a mortgage, and if the loan to value is more than 50%, the bank or the financial institution insists on paying the tax, because they don't want this to slip through the cracks where their interest was not protected. So this is why they insist on paying the tax. Okay? They'll collect the money from you with your mortgage, and then they'll pay the tax to the city. They cannot leave this stone, for this to happen. Okay, and if you are in that situation where your mortgage is less than 50% of your value, okay, if ever you have, you don't have to pay. You are supposed to pay your taxes yourself. But if ever you have a problem with your mortgage, one of the first questions they ask you is, "Are your taxes up to date?" Okay, because they're saying that if you cannot pay your mortgage, maybe you didn't even pay your taxes, right? And that's the first thing that they address, right? For that reason, I like that, because in foreclosures, that's not true. Okay, and I just ran into a situation lately where it was a foreclosure, but the mortgage was the second mortgage was wiped out too, and I don't know how that happened. Okay, I'm looking into that to see whether it was legal what was done there, right? But typically, what happens is, in a foreclosure, okay, when you have a property, okay, people who, if the property owner, if he owes money to people, anybody, you can take a lien on that property. So if I did work for you, if I'm a cabinet maker, I did work for you, $10,000 worth, and you refuse to pay me, I get a judgment against you, I can take a lien on your property. actually registered on your property. Okay? Now, anybody can go and register anything legally, of course. Okay? And all it does is it encumbers your property. The next time you want to sell that property, you want to transfer title, all of these have to be addressed. Okay? And so title cannot pass until these liens are addressed. The thing about tax sales is it's very high-handed. Okay? The city has the power to do it. It'll take your property and give it to somebody else if you don't redeem it, and everybody, it's a clean slate. Okay? Whereas in foreclosures, except for this one situation that I'm talking about, okay, where supposedly the second mortgagee was wiped out, which should not have been the case, right? But other than that, if you buy a foreclosure, the danger there is there could, one of the due diligence that you have to do is make sure that there are no unnecessary liens on that property, and that's not difficult to do. On Windmill Road, for $6, you can go into Windmill Road, the Registry of Land Titles, okay, and sit in front of a computer and pull out any address and see the history of that property from the first owner, okay, or whatever history they have. Okay, but definitely the current owner, what he or she paid, you can pull out his mortgage document. It's all there. Okay. When you took out a mortgage for your property, okay, that property was registered, right? And I can go to the land registry and pull out your mortgage document, right? It's all transparent, right? So that's one of the things that we do. Okay, so that's why we do tax sale. Now it's published, which is why legally they're required to publish it, I think, at least 30 days before the tax sale. Okay, and today with online, you could go just like I was doing it yesterday and today. Just Google Calgary tax sale, and if you are interested, I'm saying if this is just HRM that you're interested in, they'll bring you up there, and sometimes right there they post all the properties. Okay, and you can go further and check it out. All right. What's the formula that we use here? Like, if I'm going to go to a tax sale, Monday there's a tax sale, right? Assuming I have the money. How much should I pay for that property? Where do I draw the line? Okay, here's a formula. First, you determine what the selling price is. Okay, if you look at, I'm going to pass out these. Suzanne, can you help pass this out, please? This is the current HRM one that's going. Can you give me one? Yeah, okay. This is the sale that's going on Monday. And if you look at this, let's just take one. Has everybody got one? So this is very interesting that this is going to happen Monday. I think the Dartmouth Sportsplex, is that what it is? Yeah, Dartmouth Sportsplex, Monday, January 15th, right? Now, if you look at the very first one, Atlantic, let's just take one. Atlantic East Properties Limited, probably an investment company. They have this piece of land in Clam Bay, Combeck Marshes. Taxes and interest, $1,752. Redeemable. Okay, this means that if you bid this and you got this, he or she will have up to 6 months to 1 year to redeem it. Okay, otherwise they'll give it back to you. Let's look at one where there's a property on it. Okay, number 10. Number 10, this gentleman, Kirk Raymond Phillips. You see, they even put the owner's name there. And Patricia N. Spindler. I mean, have some mercy. Okay, 59 Roica Drive, Lot D1B, Dartmouth dwelling. Taxes, interest, and other lien. See, they even put the other liens that are on that property. $4,492. I don't know why they put the other lien. Maybe related to the tax department, I assume. Okay, so expenses $660, redeemable. So how do we if I was wanting, let's say, the first thing, the strategy that you would use is, the first thing you should do is define what area you're interested in, okay? Otherwise, you're not going to be looking all over the place. There was a point where I attended a real estate seminar in Toronto, and he was talking about positive cash flow real estate. So we were all looking at him, positive cash flow real estate. How do you buy positive cash in Toronto? Like, they're so expensive at that time. Average home was like $450,000. So he said, who's asking you to buy here? He said, if you want positive cash flow real estate, go out to Kent, Chatham, Kent, or Wallaceburg, or some of these places where the properties are not $450,000. They're about half or even less. But he said the rents are not that different. Okay? And he says, what if you get 2-bedroom apartment in Toronto is, let's say, $900 at that time. He said in Kent and Chatham, Kent, Wallaceburg, it would be something like $500-600, not substantially different, but you're paying a fraction of the cost that you would pay here, and there you could run into positive cash flow. So the first thing you need to do, if you are going to do this, is you could say anywhere in the HRM because I don't have to travel too much, or you could say I want to specialize in South End properties because there there's a lot of it's very desirable. Okay, and the property values are higher. Okay, so you define first, and once you've picked the area, you glance at these things, and if there's an area that jumps at you, let's say I like this particular one, and let's say I said Dartmouth, I'm looking at this, right? The first thing I would do is go on MLS, or call up a few realtors, and get comparables. Okay, what is the average market price? Call up a real estate. A lot of this can be done online now. Okay. Find out what the average price of homes around there is. Okay, so you've got an average market price to start with. So let's say this one here. I'm just going to use an example for 59 Roeka Drive. Let's say I find out that the average houses around 59 Roeka Drive are selling for $200,000. Okay, so that becomes my average selling. That's where I start, right? So if I do show up here, if I just follow this through all the way, what price am I going to pay for this in order to net 30%? Okay, so once I've determined the selling price, now I have to try to work out the. So start with the selling price. In this case, I said, look, the average house price there is market price is 250. I start 200. Let's say 200. I take off 30%. Okay. So I end up with 70% of the selling price. So 200, 70% is 140,000. So I will not be paying more than 140,000 in order for me to make. Okay, because if market value is if it's going at 200, that's as much as I want to pay. But then there's other factors to factor in. I have to take off realtors' commissions, right? When you sell a property, you have to pay real estate agents 5%. Okay, so factor that in. So that leaves me with 65% of the selling cost, selling price. Then I have to minus 1 year carrying charges. You see, I'm taking money out of my war chest, right, to put here. Okay, how long is it going to take for me to sell this? Okay, we're going to be very conservative. We're going to say up to 1 year. Hopefully within 6 months, a couple of months, it will be sold, right? But take no chance. Factor that in because it's really costing. I'm earning 3.25% in my war chest. I'm taking the money out. There's an opportunity cost. That has to be factored in. If you were a secular investor and you borrowed money from a line of credit or from loans or whatnot, that interest cost for 1 year goes there. Okay? But we don't do that because we just factor in our opportunity costs. Then you have to take off the rehab costs. When you buy tax sale properties, you're buying it as is. You have no idea what you're coming into. Okay? And sometimes, invariably, because, if it's financially distressed, okay, or because, the people have lived there for a long time, they're seniors, they don't have the money, it's been neglected, okay? It's already, there's a lot of work to do to rehabilitate it, to bring it back to the market, okay? To me, you got to factor a minute, one of the things you can do is drive by, okay? Drive by, take a look, you have no right to go in and whatnot, but it'll give you a sense to see how bad or good it is, okay? And you're taking a bit of a risk here. But if you put in margins of safety, you'll be okay. So minimum 25%. If you get good at this, if you are in that business, if you are in the construction business, if you are a handy person, If you've done this kind of thing, you get a sense of. If you don't, partner with somebody who does. Okay. If you know a general contractor or somebody, get him to, just as you would, if I don't know anything about cars, I'll get a mechanic if I'm going to buy a car. Same idea. Okay? Take him there and see, what do you think? Okay, how much do you think it's going to cost me to put this back on the market? Factor that in, anywhere from 10 to 20 to 30, to factor that in, okay? Be conservative. And once you've done all of that, take another 10% of the selling price and take it off again, just for a margin of safety. In case there's some things that we haven't figured out. Okay? When you've taken all of that out, you're going to come down to a property value that is less than 50%. Okay? So again, as I started saying, that if you are a homeowner, and if I told you there's a house being sold for less than 50%, okay, would you be interested? You would say yes. Okay? Because most, as I said to you, these tax sales are only going, as we see here, on 59 Roeca, right? For $4,492. Assuming 59 Roeca is $200,000 property, okay, it's going for $4,492. But you will not get it for $4,492 because there'll be other investors there, and I don't know what they're using. You know, we are going with our strategy. Okay, I go in there knowing that I'm not paying. I'm just going to cut it off at 30%. Let's say, okay, 30% of 200,000 is what, 70,000? It's a game. I'm going in there. I've got my check cut for $7,000 in case I can get it for $70,000. Certified check made out to the HRM or whatever, right? And I'm going to bid. Just as in that day when I was in Digby, okay, once you've done all the legwork, you show up at the place, you never know. Okay? You never know. You could be the only bidder there. And the city doesn't care. They just want to get rid of it. Okay? They want it to move on, you know, clear it out of their inventory. All right? So once you've done this, so I'm looking at 59 Roeca, and I'm saying I'm not paying more than 30%, which is 30% of 60,000, right? I go in with a check of $6,000, and if I can get it, I'll keep bidding it from 4,492 up to 60. Anything more than 60, I'm walking away. You follow? Okay. So those are tax sales. So if you look every year in the HRM, you have a tax sale like this. I did pull out some others, some from the other cities. Bridgewater is one there. Truro is another one that's there. I think Calgary and Toronto. So if you want to do this, and it's really very lucrative and profitable. Okay, but there's a bit of legwork involved. Okay, I figure about 10 hours a month if you want to do this. Okay, but you have to do the scanning. There are companies, especially in Ontario, who specialize in this. For $30 a month, they'll send you a list, okay? Because they do all the legwork. Okay, they'll tell you where the tax sale, what's coming up, and they'll do, save you a lot of time, and you can screen them much better. All right. Now, this formula that we use will be true also for, you will repeat the same formula for foreclosures, okay? Same idea. You want to begin with an average market price, take off the profit, which in our case we define because we're not going to bother if we cannot make 30%, and then work downwards, all right? Until you come to a price in your head that you know that this is where I'm going to stop. Because beyond that, I may not make any money. I might, get into a financial mess. Okay, and there's a lot of people who do that. Okay, then at the end of the day, you suffer. You pay very dearly for it, right? What was supposed to be an investment becomes a nightmare. It's costing you money. Okay, and then you might be the one who's foreclosed, right? Okay. So they are going around. I was going to do this online, but in case we didn't have, so foreclosures. Every day in the Chronicle Herald, or every week, there are at least, if not every day, every other day. Okay, there are anywhere from 2 to 5 foreclosure announcements. So I asked Suzanne, get me today's paper. And this is today's paper. And in today's paper, There are two. I'm just going to read to you what it says. They look like this, the foreclosure ads, if you have never seen them. Okay? And these are, it's gone like this. This and this. Okay? I'm just going to read to you what it says, and I'll show you how that is done. It says here, Supreme Court of Nova Scotia, between First National Financial GP Corporation, and again, no mercy, Mark Gray. Notice of public auction. To be sold at public auction under an order of foreclosure, sale and possession, unless before the time of the sale, the amount due to the plaintiff on the mortgage under foreclosure plus costs to be taxed are paid. And then it describes the property. All that piece of or parcel of land situated, lying, known as Civic number 39 Jeep Crescent, Eastern Passage in the county of Halifax. So there you go. You got an address. Okay? And that's where you start. All right? So as soon as you see this foreclosure, like I said, what you need to do if you're going to go the foreclosures route is you define what areas you want. If Eastern Passage is of no interest to me, pass. Yeah? If I've said I'm only going to deal with HRM or Dartmouth or Bedford or South End, then when it's in that area, I go to step 2. Otherwise, I pass. Let's say I'm interested in Eastern Passage, and let's say I'm just interested in and around HRM. Then what I would do, first thing is go on MLS and see what houses around 39 Jeep Crescent are selling for. Okay? And get an average price first. Okay. All right? And then what you find out, this is going to happen February the 12th at the law courts in downtown Upper Water Street. Okay, every day it happens, right? You just show up there, and usually the financial institution's lawyer is there too. Okay, because his job is to bid it up right up to the mortgage amount of their interest. Okay, so as soon as you go in there, as soon as the bidding starts, the sheriff will start the bidding. The last one that I attended is like $2,500. Bidding starts at $2,500. And immediately the bank's representative jumps it up to the mortgage amount. Because they are there to clear their mortgage, to get their mortgage out. But if this property, this one here, let's just work with this one here. Let's say this one here is 39 Jeep Crescent. The average price around there of that house is, let's say, $200,000, right? And let's say, I don't know what the mortgage is. There are ways to find out. Okay, you can go to the land registry. You can guess around. That's what I'm saying. It's a bit of legwork to do. Nothing to stop you from calling the owner up. There's nothing illegal you're doing. They just might not give you the information. Okay, and there is also in the secular world, they call them pre-foreclosures. I wouldn't do it. They knock on doors of people like Mark Gray's house. They go and knock on Mark Gray's house and try to bail him out. Because, it says here that he can redeem it. Right? He can pay it off before. And so they'll do a win-win situation like, why lose all of your equity? Let me pay it off, buy it from you, half and half. That kind of thing. There are people who do that before it even goes to foreclosure. We're not desperate. We're just trying to get 30% on our money. If you want to do that, you can do that, but I don't encourage it. Like you get involved with people and whatnot. But if it gets to the courts, right, that's why we want. It's clean. It's all legal, and there's no headaches involved. Okay, you're not dealing with people. So in this case, what would happen is a couple of ways you can find out what the mortgage outstanding is. One is you could call the person up. They may or may not tell you. Okay. Second is you can guess around go to the land registry, pull out the mortgage document. If it's fairly recent, then you can figure that it must be around there, right? The third thing you can do is at the bottom of this, there's the name of a lawyer who's handling this. In this case, it is Adam Crane of Morris Bureau on Yonge Street here. Okay, call Mr. Morris up and tell him you are interested in buying that property, and see if he'll. I've called the lawyers up in the past. Sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. Okay, they might tell you, they may not tell you, right? So a bit of legwork to do, but what you want to do is get a sense of what you're in for, right? Because if I'm going to go into a foreclosure sale, I have to come prepared. I need to know how much money I have to, because I have to put the money down, 10% down. Okay? Are you with me? All right? So the only problem that I don't like with foreclosures is that the liens that are on that property, I don't know what I'm in for. Okay? Not only the physical state of the property, but also the liens. Whereas the other one, the tax sales, I'm confident that it's not my problem anymore. Everything gets wiped clean. Okay? Whereas here, there could be somebody might come in and make a claim on the property. Now that I'm the new owner, saying that there was a lien on that property. Do you follow? All right. Now, again, there are same thing. You've got cash requirements, usually 10% down, balance in 20 days, and the bidding starts. Their previous liens remain, okay, and they're published. Are there any questions? The purchase, like I said, the formula is the same. We start with the purchase price, the selling price, and then we factor all the other things out, and we come up with the purchase price. And once you've got a purchase price, that's where you draw the line. Okay, you don't want to make this emotional. You don't want to go there and start bidding with somebody else. I don't know what they're using, or if they're doing it emotionally, but we don't want to get caught emotionally. Okay, we are there to make 30% of money, and we've factored this in. If we cannot get it for that price, chances are we won't make our 30%.
It seems very risky to buy a property without having ever seen it or seen the inside.
It is.
Environmental catastrophe.
Absolutely. It is. You're taking a risk. Okay? Remember I said that these three things, stock market investing, real estate investing, and in businesses, we are not investing here, we are speculating. Okay? There's a chance that we can lose, all right? But this is why you have to be very careful. Okay? Be very careful, tread very carefully. If you do that, there's gains to be made. But you could be in for a lot of money too. And you brought up environmental ones, right? So the trick then is to do the legwork to see why it's being sold. Okay? There could be a lot of reasons. Divorce is one. Okay? And sometimes bitter divorces, they don't care. They're so against each other and they let it go to that state. Okay? Environment, sometimes because a lot of seniors have lived in a place for a long time, they don't have high incomes. Property values have gone up like crazy. They just can't keep up with the taxes. South Enders especially. Okay, if you've lived there, look at the average property there, and the taxes are so high. These people don't have the incomes to pay those taxes. So find out the reason. Estate sales is another one. Okay, I've walked into situations where, the kids have all gone in different directions. They're busy with their own lives and their own problems, and they say, look, we can't, this is no money. So you're right, you could be in, it could be a Pandora's box, okay? But be very, very careful. Okay? Do your due diligence as much as you can. And there's no compulsion here, okay? This is what I'm saying. About 10 hours, if you're doing this, 10 hours, keep, scanning until you find the right one. And when everything is right, then do it. If anything smells wrong, just walk away. Your money is doing fine. It's earning 3.25%. You follow? It's not like you have to do this, but if you do it, and the idea is, as soon as my thinking is, if you can do 2 of these per year, okay, once every 6 months, you're doing good. Okay, turning money over, okay, either foreclosure or tax sale. And if you can, if it works, if you can get it for your purchase price, rehab it, put it up for 6 months, make a profit, pay the selling cost, and then move the profit back in and look for the next one. Okay. But again, you're under there's no pressure here. Just put out feelers, and invest minimal time, and if the right one comes along, do it. If it doesn't, pass, and without investing too much time. Any other questions?
Certified check.
Yes.
And the amount that you need to pay is different than the certified check. Will they give you any time to
No.
make that?
It's there and then. both the fourth, like too many of times, it hasn't fallen through. So you have to do something. There's legwork to be done. If you brought a certified check and you got it for $70,000, $10,000 down, you brought a $10,000, no problem. They'll take your $10,000 check. It just gets netted against the value. But if they won't take less, immediately it just goes back on the block. Any other questions? No? All right, I want to thank you for taking the time to come out. I know you had choices with your time and you chose to be here. Remain committed. This will help you become financially free, okay? Will help you avoid financial hardships, will help you attain financial freedom if you remain focused on this, okay? So thank you very much, and I'll see you in April, springtime. God bless you.